Show started here. And see if we can do this.
Amateur Radio Roundtable! The best ham show on the internet. Join Tom, W5 Cub, and Brett, Y7BG. Talking antennas, DX, and radio fun. Making friends around the world, one contact at a time. Amateur Radio Roundtable, where the ham radio world comes together.
All right. A little bit shorter intro tonight. Was it too loud? I didn't hear you, Brett.
Oh, I was just giggling. I like it. It's him, yeah.
Okay. All right. Very good. Heck. Yeah. Well, you know, when you run a show like this and you have to pay for all those intros, like that intro there, it only cost us $5,000 to make it, but it's okay, you know. All right. Hey, everybody out there, welcome to Amateur Radio Roundtable. It's a show about ham radio, shortwave. Did I say amateur radio? Ham radio, shortwave, electronics. And we're glad to have you tonight. If you're watching us on, I don't know where you're watching us. We're on YouTube, we're on x.com, we're on our Facebook group. Join our Facebook group. It's just called W5KUB, is a simple name for it. And we have about almost 15,000 members in that group. Not sure why that number is not moving. I think Facebook has slapped some kind of limit on it or something, man. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, hey, if you can, hit the subscribe button where you are. Hit the like button, and would love to have you as a regular member of our group and our show here. We're also on shortwave. We're on world famous WBCQ shortwave station up in Monticello, Maine. And that's on 7490 kilohertz. And that's rebroadcast on Thursdays between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. Eastern Time. What else is going on here? Let's see, I've talked about our Facebook group. We're on every podcast carrier out there, iHeartRadio, Google Play, all those. We're everywhere. Send us an email if you're listening on one of the podcasts out there, or if you're listening on shortwave, please send us an email. Let us know where you are, and we'd just love to hear from you. You can send that email to Tom at W5KUB.com, Tom at W5KUB.com. So tonight, we got a few things we want to talk about tonight. We're getting ready to launch W5KUB 123. That's a new Pico balloon that we're going to launch hopefully Saturday, and we hope to make it around the world. Our best flight around the world was 454 days, and we went around the world 25 times. So I don't know if we're going to be able to beat that record or not. I have put a lot of hours into this tracker. I hope it lasts at least one day. So we're going to talk about that, a little details, some of the design things we did for it and what we're adding to it and how it might or might not work. Tonight I also want to talk about AI for ham radio. Man, I have been using a lot of AI lately, and I'm amazed. It talks back to me just like it's a person, man. And it remembers everything we've talked about. I can go back a week later and ask another question, and it remembers all the things we talked about, and it just throws those into the conversation. Wow. Hey, Hambot is going to give away a prize tonight. Let's look at the prize here real quick. Hambot's going to give away a prize tonight to some lucky viewer. You get to choose tonight. We're going to give away, our Gigaparts are going to give away either a handy talkie, a G5RV Junior dipole, or an Explorer backpack. You can see them right here on the screen. You get your choice if you're the winner. So we'll probably do that close to mid-show, and we'll see who we'll see who wins there. Field day's coming up. I want to talk to Brett a little about field day, see if you got any plans for that. And one of the things that happened this week for me, not for me, Hambot got an Amazon package. Hambot did. I thought it was for me, but Hambot did. And look, Hambot got a WD-40 specialist. Man, this came in for Hambot, and I forget. Let's see. I have the note here somewhere. Let me look.
Wow.
Probably lost it.
Yeah, in the Tin Man and the Wizard of Oz only asked for his oil can.
Well, you know what? It says right here, and this is from our friend Chris, AA4CB down in Florida. He sent it to Hambot, and he says, "You sounded a little squeaky on last week's show. Thanks for everything," from Chris, AA4CB. And hey, Chris, Hambot thanks you so much. And I don't know if you're in the chat room or not, but you may win a prize tonight. I don't know. I can't guarantee it. I shouldn't have said that. You probably will not win. I'll just say this. You probably will not win. I'll just put it that way. Oh, man. All right. So anyway.
The squeaky bot gets the grease.
What was that?
I guess the squeaky bot gets the grease.
Yeah, yeah. All right, let's see who we got here. Somebody just joined KF0MJI. Welcome. And Mobile, I don't know where he is. Hey, K5TGM joined. And I see old KD5PUR. Hadn't seen him in a while. Oh, man, here's the MAV KJ5NVF. Glad you joined with us tonight. I think those may be some new calls. I haven't really recognized those. So, hey, if you're new tonight joining the show, just type in the chat room. This is your first time or new to the show. Would just love to hear from you. And thanks for being with us there. So, Hambot got the WD-40 tonight. Hambot's going to give away a prize to some lucky winner there. And I got some other things going on here in the area, and we'll talk about that tonight. So let's jump over and see how Brett is doing there. Brett, come on in here, man. What have you been doing? Seemed like a long time since our last show.
Yeah, it has been, and I've been very busy here in Laramie, Wyoming. The weather has been good, so I've been up on the rooftops wiring up all sorts of internet equipment, fixing and improving my ham antennas, and also participating this week in the local club's ham radio summer camp. The summer camp is scheduled to coincide with field day, so the field day happens right in the middle of the summer camp. We're teaching high school kids all about ham radio, all about electronics, and we're hoping that they're going to go and take the exam and get licensed. So I even have one of the presentations, which turned out to be more interesting than I thought, that I prepared for the kids. It's about crystal radios, and it actually goes into a lot of detail about the technology that, even some experienced hams either don't know or don't remember. So I've been having a lot of fun preparing the equipment and to demonstrate, and also the presentations. Then next week, I'm going to talk to them about digital modes. So we're going to talk about the past, the old crystal radios, and then we're going to talk about the future.
Okay, future, good. Well, I don't know, man. I think the future is already here. We got some nice stuff out there.
Oh, with those AIs, you certainly do.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, let me ask you. Field day is this coming weekend. I'll be dropping in on the Memphis, Tennessee group. They have 3 or 4 clubs that combine, and I'll go visit them. If it's like last year or the year before, it is going to be hot out there. Hot, man. Oh, what are your plans for field day?
Well, the local club is planning to set up for field day outside the local recreation center. And that's going to handle both the kids who are at the summer camp and also just capture the interest of a lot of people who are going by. I am taking a road trip to Des Moines, Iowa. And
Cool.
I'll be going all the way. I'll be driving the length of Nebraska
Yeah.
and hopefully stopping in at various field day sites that I find along the way. So that's going to be a lot of fun also. I'm going to be taking a little HF, my POTA rig, and so I'll be able to participate while I'm on the road.
Okay. All right. Well, good. You gonna do any operating? I mean,
Yeah,
I think.
I hope to. If
Yeah.
they haul me in and say, "Okay, start operating," then I'm certainly going to go ahead and do it. And I may just do some on my own, set up my little mag loop, and operate under my own call sign.
Wow. Wow. You know, I've never got into those mag loops. They look awful small, man. Does it work pretty good?
They're not efficient. You lose about 2 dB relative to a more decent antenna, but they are so easy to set up.
Yeah.
And
Well,
they have high Q. If for field day, that's really great because you tune your mag loop, and as long as no one's operating on exactly the same frequency, you don't get any interference from them, and that's wonderful.
I don't know if you saw the big mag loop we made here. I sold it, I think, at the Huntsville, no, at the Russellville Hamfest this year. Got rid of it, never used it, but you said it's simple to set up. Man, hey, a dummy load is easy to set up too.
This is true, but the mag loop gets out a little better
A little
than
bit
a dummy
further than a
load.
dummy load, yeah. Well, okay. Well, you know, a lot of people are using those, and they like them. Okay.
Yep, and on field day, if you're running, especially if you're running digital modes like FTA, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. You're going to get hundreds of QSOs, even
Yeah.
if your
Yeah.
signal is very strong.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, let me. We've got several new people in the chat room. Let's see. KG4UZO, KF0MJI, and KJ5NVF. They're all new to the show. Glad to have you tonight. I posted our link on a few. I posted our show announcement, on a few Facebook groups. Maybe you saw it there. I would imagine that's where you saw it. And we're glad to have you. Hope you come back. And we've gone to every 2 weeks. Actually, we've gone to the second and the fourth Wednesday of every month. And that's kind of hard for us to get used to here. Man. All right. Hey, Brett, why don't we, let's jump into the crystal presentation you got there and talk a little about it.
Okay. I'll go ahead and share that screen then. Here
All
we
right.
go. Here is what I'm going to be presenting to the kids about crystal radios, and we're going to go ahead and build them. You can see right here on the title slide, I have a picture of an old Swedish crystal radio, and if you take a good look at this picture, you can see it actually has the crystal and the cat's whisker. I'll show another picture of that a little bit later in the presentation. But the title of the presentation is Crystal Radios, How and Why They Work. And, well, these kids are high school kids who really don't know much about physics or math or electronics yet. So I'm trying to give them a good explanation. This is a challenge. I'm trying to give them a good explanation of the technology and, not just talk right over their heads, but still give them a feel for how things work and hopefully give them some tips that'll help them prepare for the exam. So this is how I covered the topic of crystal radios. First of all, I talk about why they should learn about crystal radios. Crystal radios are ancient technology, so why learn about them? Well, first of all, everyone should know something about history of technology. And a crystal radio gives folks the ability to understand how we did radio before we had transistors or before we even had vacuum tubes, because they did exist before the first vacuum tubes were available. Crystal radios help you learn about modulation schemes and demodulation, just the very fundamentals of how radios work. And you can learn the practical uses of inductors, capacitors, and diodes on a very basic level and then apply that to more complicated circuits. You can learn about tuned circuits, which is a vital topic, not only to pass the exam, but just to understand radio. And it's good for emergency preparedness because a crystal radio is a crude but functional radio that doesn't even require batteries to work. And we hope that the kids are going to, as I put on the bottom of the slide, impress their friends, impress their parents, enter a science fair, and have some fun as they go about building the crystal radios. Now, the next thing I have to explain to them is how do you receive a radio signal in the first place? Well, to understand how to receive one, you need to understand how it's transmitted. And so I talk about how a crystal radio receives AM, or amplitude modulation signals. And I have this really nice GIF, which I stole from Wikipedia. It's Creative Commons, so I'm allowed to use it. And basically, I explain that an AM signal consists of a carrier, which increases or decreases in strength according to the pressure of the sound wave that you want to reproduce. And of course, the sound wave has a much lower frequency in the carrier, so you can see in this picture the sound wave modulating the carrier. And the signal that goes out over the air, of course, is an electric field that looks like the image above, and the sound you want to recover is reproduced by finding the envelope which modulated that carrier. Now, how do you do that? Well, there are lots of stations out there transmitting on the AM band even now. So the first thing you need to do is filter out the ones you don't want to hear, which is, of course, called tuning. And so the first thing you do when you make a crystal radio is you create a tuned circuit, which is also called a bandpass filter, that will do that. And so I talk about what a crystal radio is made of. It really has two parts to it: a bandpass filter, which selects the station you're going to hear, and a detector, which demodulates the signal. And the detector or demodulator is what is called an envelope detector, because it takes the signal, the modulated signal that comes in, and outputs a voltage that's proportional to the amplitude of the carrier. That is just the envelope, and that can be fed to a headset or an amplifier and a speaker. Now, despite all of this complexity, you can make a crystal radio out of 4 components. Actually, really, each of the blocks is just 2 components. So building the crystal radio is a really simple circuit, and we're going to have our kids put them together out of alligator clips. We're not even going to bother to put them on a board because they can put the components out on the table and just connect them to the alligator clips and they will work. So anyway, the 2 parts that they have to build are the bandpass filter and the detector. Now, there are many different types of bandpass filters, but the type that we're going to have them build, of course, is an LC circuit, which is an inductor and a capacitor connected in parallel. Now, we have to explain to them the concept of a resonant circuit. Essentially, that when you have a capacitor and an inductor in parallel, it has a resonant frequency at which its impedance essentially goes to infinity. And so if you put the resonant circuit here between the antenna and the ground, it shorts out everything but the frequency you want to receive. And so it becomes a bandpass filter, and you can pass that on to the next stage. And I was a little hesitant to give them any math because I don't know whether they've had algebra or calculus, but I did show the one formula that matters, which is that the frequency at which the LC circuit resonates is 1 over 2 pi radical LC. And I'm going to tell them not to be intimidated by the math because the important thing to remember is just one thing. those two things are in the denominator of the fraction. And so as you increase L, or as you increase C, the frequency frequency of the resonant circuit goes down. And that's the important thing for them to know. So they have an idea that when they close the capacitor and they increase the variable capacitor's capacitance, they're going to be tuning down the band, and when they open up the capacitor, they're going to be tuning up the band. I'm not having them make a coil with a slider, so they don't have to worry about adjusting the inductance. That's going to be fixed. Now, then the next thing they have to do is make a detector. And the detector is the reason why it's called a crystal radio. Because the original diodes, the original detectors, had a cat's whisker that was making contact with a crystal. And that made a really crude diode that passed that basically passed current in one direction but not the other. The crystal was usually galena, which is a nice shiny mineral. You can also use pyrite, which is another shiny mineral. And when you set up your crystal radio, you adjusted the cat's whisker so that so that your diode conducted in only one direction. Now, the other kind of diode that you sometimes see, of course, is a vacuum tube diode, which is the simplest kind of vacuum tube. It just has a cathode or even just a filament and an anode. It doesn't have any grid, but because the cathode has a tendency to throw off electrons and doesn't like having electrons thrown back at it, it becomes effectively a diode. There's also a modern germanium diode over here on the right, and you can see that inside this particular diode, I've blown it up so you can see it, there actually is the equivalent of a cat's whisker. So we are still using a sort of cat's whisker even today. Now there's another kind of rectifier that I haven't shown here, which is a really big and spooky one, which is the mercury tubes that you see in very high voltage DC applications. And they emit a blue glow. They use mercury vapor, and they ionize it. And the way they're set up, they also pass current only in one direction. So anyway, whatever kind of diode you use, and we're just having them use 1N34 diodes, you use that to make a detector. And the envelope detector is super simple. The diode lets the current in to charge the capacitor up from the band. It takes the signal from the bandpass filter. It charges the capacitor, and then you have an impedance or resistance here that gradually discharges the capacitor. So you are constantly trying to charge the capacitor with just the upper half of the radio wave, and the resistor is discharging it at a fixed rate. And so what you wind up with is a running average of the envelope. If you set the capacitor to the right value, then you essentially don't pass the carrier because it's going too fast and the capacitor filters it out, but you do get the running average of the envelope. Now in our circuit, we're actually only using these two components, the diode and the capacitor, because the headphone serves as the load resistor. And so the whole crystal radio is 4 components: a coil, a variable capacitor, a diode, and a fixed capacitor. And so here's the whole circuit. And we attach those 4 components to the antenna and a ground. We put an earphone on it, and if we do it right, we have the right number of turns in the coil, right capacitance in the variable capacitor, we will tune in local radio stations, and that's what we expect to be able to do. Now, because this is a class and I want to show things off to them, I'm going to cheat, and instead of putting an earphone on it, although we have some earphones available, I'm going to put a guitar amplifier on it. A guitar amplifier has a high input impedance, and it's going to work very much like the earphone, but the whole class is going to be able to hear it. Now, the portable guitar amplifier has a battery built in, and so we're going to be able to do this on a picnic table out in the sun for the summer camp. But we have a problem. Because we're not anywhere near an electrical outlet, and driving a stake into the ground makes a really poor ground, we're not going to be able to get a good ground in that area. And so what I'm going to do for the kids instead is I'm going to replace the ground with another half an antenna. And so they're going to be running their crystal radios off a dipole. And I'll have to explain why that works. But hopefully they'll understand that you have two parts of the dipole pushing and pulling against one another. And that's about the same thing as having a long wire antenna and a ground attached to your crystal radio. And so that's what I'm going to show them. And hopefully they'll be tuning things in. I'm also going to do one more thing if we have a chance. We're going to have some ham transceivers set up at the site. And what I'm going to do is take their variable capacitors, which actually have two separate sets of rotors and stators, and I'm going to take one of them, and I'm going to cut the capacitance in half by removing one of the sets of rotors and stators. Now, remember that equation I showed before. Your resonant frequency is 1 over 2 pi radical LC. So what happens when you go ahead and you cut the capacitance by a factor of 2? Well, because it's under the square root symbol, that means that your resonance frequency goes up by a factor of about square root of 2. That's about 1.4. Now, your AM radio band is about 1 megahertz. And so if you tune to the high end, up to maybe 1200 or 1300 hertz, and then you multiply the frequency by 1.4, you're right in the middle of 160 meter band. So what I'm probably going to do for the kids is transmit to them on a rig that's set up to run at 160 meters, and they'll be able to hear me, they'll be able to receive ham radio signals right then and there. So that's what I'm going to show them. And hopefully it'll be a lot of fun. Hopefully it'll be instructive, and they'll learn a lot about the technology. Because, a lot of hams never actually, when they're studying for the exam, never actually get to try this, never really understand what they're doing. But we'll have an opportunity to show the kids this at the summer camp tomorrow.
Well, that's a good presentation, and explains a lot to them. You mentioned the different type metals and how they form they can form a detector or a diode type junction. I've never met anybody like this, but I've heard stories where fillings inside of people's teeth actually operate like a detector, because they put that, silver, lead, whatever dentist puts in your tooth. Yeah, whenever, and I guess it's possible that, people have complained that they can walk around hearing a radio station.
Mm-hmm.
You think that's
possible? I don't know if they really hear a radio station. There's a lot of jokes about people receiving alien transmissions in their phones.
I don't know. I mean, hey, I don't know, man. I don't know. I never met anybody that did it, but let's just think. I mean, how would you tune that to different frequencies? I guess you could, I don't know.
I've heard about a lot of people receiving radio signals in their telephones back when we used to, have our old hotspot.
Oh yeah.
And the reason that happened was that you had a bad connection somewhere along the way, and it rectified.
Yeah, and even
just happened to be right.
Ham radio operators come in on your next door neighbor's stereo system, and the stereo's turned off. Well, again, there's some rectification going on somewhere on those speaker leads, I guess, and if you run enough power and it gets over here, you're gonna actually hear the guy on the speakers.
And when I did crystal radios as a kid, the best antenna I ever had wasn't actually a long wire antenna. Back when we had dial phones, it was the finger stop of an
Yeah.
old-fashioned analog telephone.
Oh yeah,
Because
yeah.
that was sort of loosely coupled to the entire telephone system, which made
Right.
a really great antenna.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I can think of another case where something became a detector or a diode, and I can remember being young and in church, and we have a PA system. Well, a PA system is not an RF receiver, but I've heard CB discussions come on the speakers in church, over the PA system. So I don't know. I don't know that kind of stuff is happening much more. Maybe things are getting better. I don't know.
Well, old-fashioned CB was AM. They, toward the end of the CB era, they started using SSB. But
Yeah.
originally it was AM. So
And
sure.
they've gone to FM. They've added FM now to CB.
Yeah.
Wow. A lot of changes over the years. Yeah. Okay. Well, great. Let us know how it went over with the kids, and be interesting to see how many of them got really excited and want to build their own.
Yep. Well, I'm gonna let them wind the coils and clip everything together with the alligator clips, and I think they're gonna have
Yeah.
a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I am also going to sing them. I am also going to sing them one of the ham radio songs that I sang for you a while back.
Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. I'm looking at the chat room here. You got some good comments. They enjoyed your presentation. Also saw Terry K5TGM said he just ordered his Meshtastic and he's getting him a Meshtastic node in. Woo! I don't know, man. Brett and I have done that. Now Brett may have had better luck than me, but I put together a couple Meshtastic nodes, and I could pick up stuff on it, but I could really never get anybody to talk back if you try to contact them. And I about came to the conclusion, like some people have mentioned to me from Texas, that about the only thing they found good use for a Meshtastic is to put it on a cow. You can track a cow with it. I don't know, Brett, did you have much fun with your Meshtastic, or you done put it away?
I have a Meshtastic node sitting in my bedroom right now, and I check it every evening to see what it's received. Every now and then I try to transmit a message. I regularly reach Denver, Colorado.
Yeah. Do you actually make a contact with someone through it?
People don't chat much on Meshtastic, which is surprising. But I did make one contact with Colorado Springs, Colorado, where the person
Yeah.
answered.
I mean, I get on there every single day and say, hello, hey, I'm new here testing. Did anybody receive this? And I get 0 responses, man, 0. I don't know. Well, anyway, good luck. Terry, good luck with your Meshtastic. You have to report back to us how well it's working for you there. All right. All right. Well, great. Keep us informed on how your presentation went, and love to
Oh yeah, I'll
hear
take
the results
pictures.
there. Yeah. All right, I got a couple pictures here that I've just disregard this one. Let's see how can I do this. Let me see if I can. Okay. Let me set this up. I got a couple things here we'll talk about. Let me set it up to work quick. Okay, and we'll take it off slideshow. Okay. All right. So, let me see if I can. Not that. Hey, guess what? We're getting fiber here. I'm getting fiber. They're moving along quick, man. Just last week they ran the two pipes under the ground all the way around the neighborhood, and yesterday they pulled the fiber through there. So, man, it won't be long. We've already pre-ordered. We'll be one of the first, I think, to get fiber. So it'll be with C Spire. You know, I'm using cable right now. I get 1 gig down, and I get about 50 megs up, which is okay for the show. But you know, the cable's costing about $150 a month. The C Spire here, it's going to cost me $65 a month, guaranteed for 5 years, and free equipment. So big savings, plus the speeds are 1 gig down, 1 gig up. So, man, hey, we'll, what was that?
They're trying to compete with Elon.
It must be, yeah. And hey, you know, hey, when we get that, we'll jack the speed of the show up one night to 1 gig up. Oh man. Oh well. But anyway, looking forward to that. I want to talk a little tonight about this messy device here. This is our Pico balloon tracker system we're going to launch. For maybe some of you new people that hadn't followed us, we've been flying Pico balloons around the world for maybe 6 years, 7 years. Basically, it's just a little 30-inch balloon and a home-built tracker. And our best flight was 454 days, and it went around the world 25 times. And this is tracked using ham radio. We use Whisper to bring in all the data, and every 10 minutes we're able to receive the position on the map. It's plotted on a map, the direction it's going, the altitude, the voltage. So we can watch this thing as it travels around the world. And it flies at over 40,000 feet. We try to fly above the storms. This is not like a weather balloon. A weather balloon is made to go up and pop. A weather balloon is latex, and it will stretch, and it will keep getting bigger and bigger as it goes up. Our balloons that we fly here, we don't want them to stretch. Once they hit their capacity size, we want it to stop stretching, and it has to hold the pressure. Once it stops stretching, that sets the altitude that it floats at, and it will float at that altitude from that point on until it falls or comes down. So we fly in the 40,000. It's real hard to make it into the 50,000. Now, just as a side note, we did a weather balloon launch and chased it. We had cameras in it, and we chased it a couple years ago, and we have that on one of our video files here on our channel if you want to watch it. It went up to 109,000 feet, 109,000, and we could actually see the blackness of space, and we saw the curvature of the Earth. We had good data on it, where it was going to come down. We chased it, and we were right there to pick it up when it came down, and we recovered it. But back to our Pico balloons here. This is our latest. We're going to launch. We hope to launch Saturday. This is W5KUB-123, flight 123. It looks a little junky. We've had to rebuild it 3 or 4 times here. The base of that is actually a food takeout box that you get at a restaurant. I cut a little square out of a food takeout box, and we're trying to hold the weight down. Of course, we cut spaces out underneath the solar panels. We've put the solar panels on. Now, I've had to rebuild this 3 or 4 times, and it gets real messy because these things are glued down. You have to cut them off with a knife. The soldering looks terrible on the solar panels because they're not made to solder to. That little line that the wires connect on is no more than I don't know, a micron or two thick of paint. It's some type conductive paint. And if you leave the soldering iron on there more than a second, or you have too much heat, that little white line that you have to solder to completely dissolves, it goes away, and then you just throw the solar panel away. So
I'm thinking that it's aluminum powder that they just melt off.
Well, it may be, but what I found is the best way is just, get your soldering iron hot, get some soldering on it, lay the wire on there, and just tap it. You tap it really fast, Hey, if you tap it slow, you're going to melt it off, and then you're going to destroy the cell. So that looks kind of bad, but we did get a connection, and we're going to go with it. We've tried the conductive copper tape, which went on the cells really nice, but I think that it caused us some problems of probably a higher resistant connection point. And as we pull current through each of those connection points, there was a voltage drop, and it caused us just to have terrible issues trying to get power out of the solar panels. So we went back to soldering. Now I'm going to try to order some paste. There's some silver paste glue that I might try to go on there. That may be another option later. If you look very closely at the center bottom, you'll see our tracker that we build, or we're now having them built at a PC shop. But that little white square is the GPS. And that entire little circuit board there is a 10 milliwatt whisper transmitter. And it can transmit 6,000 kilometers easily. People pick it up all over the world. Right above that in the center, kind of silver with some black markings on it, is a LiPo battery. And we've added a battery this time. Now typically a battery will not work up there. We'll be flying, and the temperature will be minus 40 Celsius or minus 40 Fahrenheit. They're both the same at that temperature. So minus 40, a LiPo battery just about shuts down. It will not charge below zero, and it will not discharge. Well, I didn't mean zero. I meant 32 at freezing. So anyway, it's got a very high temperature where it shuts down. We're going to be at minus 40. A couple people flying these have had some luck lately flying a LiPo battery. So we're going to give it a try. And it just may be a waste. That battery adds almost 7 grams to the total payload weight, and we like to fly as light as possible. Our trackers usually are around 10 grams total when we fly them. This one is coming in at 24. This is actually going to come in a little higher. Once we put the antenna on here, the antenna is about another 1.5 grams. So 24, 25, 20, it's going to weigh almost 26 grams total when we fly it. And that's because we put a full 20 meter dipole antenna on here. And the way we do our antennas, we build them out of number 36 gauge wire. That's about the size of a hair on your head, if you still have hair. It's a full 20 meter dipole. Half the dipole runs up a string to the balloon, and the other half of the dipole dangles below the tracker. The little red thing, this kind of, I don't know. The little red thing there is actually an inductor. And if you look right below the red thing, there's a little circuit board about, 3/8 of an inch square. And it has about 6 parts on it. A MOSFET and a couple resistors and maybe a couple of capacitors. And that's it, all surface mount. We build that. And that's an amplifier. The little red thing there is a 5 microhenry inductor that is in the power lead that goes to the amplifier. That's to keep the RF from going back into the power supply. You might notice it. You may have seen one of these before. The little red thing, that's a drinking straw. So that's a straw, a 1/4 inch straw, with number 36 wire wrapped around it to make us an inductor. And you need an inductor, maybe 5 to 15 microhenry there to block the RF. So I think we actually wound up for about 7 microhenries. Now that little amplifier, and we've got all that running off the 3-volt rail, 3-volt rail off the tracker. And the reason we picked 3 volts is we could run it off the solar panels with no regulation, but we're talking 5 to 6 volts solar, and that would make the output of that power amplifier maybe 100 milliwatts, maybe 200 milliwatts, which is pretty strong and requires a lot of current. So we're trying to hold it down to a reasonable amount that we control with what current we have off the cells. The cells will provide about 250 milliamps of current. So what we decided to do is run the amplifier on a 3.3 volt regulated, which means that's going to be our maximum output, RF output, and that I measured that, and at 3.3 volts we get right at 70 milliwatts of power out. So if the voltage on those cells are up to 4 volts, 4.5 volts, 5 volts, the maximum we're going to get out of the amplifier is 70 milliamps because we're regulated at 3.3 volts. Now, as the sun goes down and the voltage goes down below 3.3, we start losing a little power. At 3.2 volts, at 3.2 volts, we may have 50 milliwatts. At 3.1 volts, we may have 40 milliwatts. 3.1, we may have 30 milliwatts. So you can see it comes down. Now, the battery is going to pretty much do most of the work here. The little blue thing in the middle is a supercapacitor. We've got it across the 3.3 volt line. It's not necessary. It's not necessary at all. In fact, on our whisper transmitters, typically people don't run supercapacitors. That supercapacitor alone could run that tracker without the amp. It could run that tracker about 2 minutes. Once it's charged, it could run the tracker all by itself for about 2 minutes. But it basically would be good for things like, for instance, if the solar cell, if it catches a gust of wind, and let's say that it flips and the cells get out of the sun. Well, as soon as those cells get out of the sun, your power stops. Now this is if you don't have a battery. So if it flips a little bit for 1 second, your voltage goes to 0. And that would not be good for our tracker because our processor would reset and have to reboot when it flopped back out in the sun. Now, we left the supercapacitor on there. The battery is actually being charged. If you look at the bottom right, at the last revision 4 of all this we've done this month, we've added a buck boost card there, a little buck boost card. You can set it for an output of 5 volt, 4.3 volt, or 3 volt, and the input anywhere from 1.5 volts to 15 volts. So input 1.5 to 15, we've got it set where it's going to always provide 4.3 volts. So the 4.3 volts is actually feeding the battery. The battery is actually feeding the tracker. The cells are actually feeding the boost, the buck boost. The cells go into the buck boost, and from the buck boost at 4.2 volts, we go into the battery, and then the battery goes into the tracker, and then inside the tracker we have a 3.3 volt regulated supply there.
Wow, I'd love to see a block diagram of all of this.
Yeah. So you can see it's kind of messy, the wiring there. I've got it kind of glued down. I have cut that thing apart so many times. And those cells, you can't take the cells off. You take an X-Acto knife, you try to cut underneath them, you'll break every cell. Those cells are so fragile. They're thinner than a sheet of paper. And if you sneeze wrong or look at them wrong, those cells are going to crack. And I think putting a lot of heat down the center also affects those cells. But I was very careful. In fact, I put this whole thing together and rebuilt it 3 or 4 times and didn't break a single cell. That's very unusual. If you notice where the buck boost is, bottom right hand, I had a cell. There was another cell there. I had 10 cells. 10 cells typically put out 0.5 volts per cell, so that would be 5 volts. But in very bright sunlight, they will get up to 0.6 volts per cell. 0.6 times 10 cells is 6 volts. Now, I guess that's good, but I was trying to balance without the buck boost. I was trying to get the charge rate correct in that battery. The previous cells I had on there, either we had a bad connection or a bad cell, and these are cheap Chinese cells, and I try to measure each one before I use them. But sometimes you'll find one that has low output or no output. And you're in series, so if you got a low output or no output, that affects the entire string. So I tried to get the voltage right to charge the battery. Now, a LiPo battery has a maximum charge voltage of 4.2 volts. And I was getting the voltage with the number of cells down to pretty close 4.2 volts. I did see it report one time 4.6 volts on the battery range, and that's too much. And if the ants are going to ride this, I want them to be safe. And you get up to 4.3, 4.4, 5, 6. The battery actually can catch on fire and explode. And I did not want these guys to be up at 40,000 feet and have a fire and have to parachute off there. So anyway, that's kind of where we are. The buck boost, if you notice, I've only got 9 cells now. I took 1 cell off. I cut it off with an X-Acto knife. So 9 cells time 0.5 is 4.5 volts. 9 cells time maybe a maximum of 0.6. That's 5.4 volts. Now the sun is much brighter up at 40,000 feet. You got a lot of heavy ultraviolet. You don't have any atmosphere that is cutting down the voltage, in the solar cells. So I was a little worried that it would be unknown what our voltage would be up at altitude. So I decided to put the tracker on. Those cells actually weigh 0.5 grams each. The buck boost converter weighs 2 grams each. So I took a half off and I put 2 back on. Oh well, we're going to fly heavy. We're going to call this W5KUB 123 heavy. We've flown trackers this heavy before, and the calculations show that we still should be flying in the 40,000, probably fly about 41, maybe 42,000 feet. We're going to launch, if the weather is good, we're going to launch Saturday morning, maybe 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, if we don't have clouds and rain. You cannot launch in clouds. The balloon, if the balloon gets any moisture on it, it'll come down. It just will not go up. 10 drops of water will bring it down because we have very low lift. And these balloons are pretty much empty when we launch them. We use hydrogen to launch it. And the balloon is only about 20% full when we launch it, just because as the balloon goes up, the hydrogen will expand. And what I have understood was that every 18,000 feet, the volume of hydrogen is going to double. So at 18,000, you get twice as much fill. At 36,000, that doubles again. And then by the time we get into the 40s, up in the 40s, it's going to expand a little bit more. But our balloon is going to get tight and full. And if it holds the pressure, that is going to establish the altitude that it floats. Let me check and see if anybody said anything in the chat room here real quick. I don't think anybody's commented on it. Okay. Yep. Okay. Okay, almost to the end here. Wow. A lot more comments going here. Let's see. Okay. Gee, I got way behind on the chat room here. All right. Well, it says here, will I be flying much larger of an envelope to make up for the extra payload? A larger envelope. Well, no, the balloon is pretty standard balloon that we found at work. You can't use just any balloon. It's got to be a special material. What we used to fly is these pancake type Mylar balloons, and you can only get a certain volume of gas in there. Of course, the larger the volume of the balloon, the higher it's going to actually go. But that's a 2-gore balloon, and our altitudes were always maxed out in the 30,000, probably mid 30s. We found a balloon we call it a 4-gore. You know, instead of a pancake, it's instead of 2 sides, it's actually got 4 sides, and it blows up into a spear. It looks almost completely round, and that holds almost twice as much. These balloons are 32-inch in diameter. That's the largest balloon that we really can fly, and they'll lift this. They'll lift it. Let's see. Okay. All right. So let me just say real quick. Let me say this to anybody out there that's listening right now. You're watching Amateur Radio Roundtable, a show about ham radio and electronics and shortwave, and we're going to Hambot's going to give away a prize in a few minutes. And if you want to be eligible for the prize, you need to be in the w5kub.com chat room. So if you're not, I know a lot of people are watching on YouTube, a lot of people are watching on Facebook. If you're in the YouTube chat room, you're not going to be eligible. I'm sorry. Hambot only works on our chat room. So go to w5kub.com. You can actually watch the video there, and you can actually log into the chat room there. No password required. Just type your name, your call, whatever, and you'll be in the chat room. And Hambot is going to pick a name out of the chat room. And tonight we'll be giving away, some lucky viewer will get his choice of a handy talkie, a dual band handy talkie, a G5RV junior dipole, or an Explorer battery pack. So that is going to be given by Hambot. Don't mess with Hambot. All right, don't mess with Hambot. So we'll be doing that in just a few minutes. So y'all get ready, get in there and get in that chat room if you want to win something. So that's kind of my spiel tonight that I wanted to give you guys on our balloon. You can follow it on our website. If you go to w5kub.com and click on balloon in the menu, we'll have several different ways to track it. We'll have maps on there. There's one link you can click that will take you to an APRS tracking site, which is probably I like it better than the others. And you'll actually be able to see the balloon as it moves across the map. But also on that page, the tracking page, we'll have several other maps tracking it. So you'll be able to see where it is. We've also got some neat weather links there, or you can. We've got a weather map on here. If you know where the balloon is, you can click that spot on that weather map and dial in the altitude, and you'll see the jet stream. You'll see where the jet stream is, and you'll see how fast the jet stream is moving, and all that kind of good stuff. So we hope you'll follow the balloon on Saturday. We're going to launch about 9 or 9:30. We should reach our float altitude by about 1 o'clock. It's going to take about 3.5, maybe 4 hours to reach our float. We hope to float at about 42,000. Hey, just one more comment about our balloons. You know, we'll be going over the Middle East. We'll be going over China. We'll be going over Russia. We'll go over Ukraine. We'll go over Tehran. We go everywhere with it. The Ukraine is now started they're launching a lot of balloons. I don't know if you guys have seen this or read about it, but they're launching small balloons now because the prevailing winds take it from west to east, and that's the way they want to go. And what they're doing with these balloons, some of their small drones, can only fly maybe 27 miles. They're battery powered. They run maybe 27 miles. But what they have discovered, they're hanging these drones under these balloons now, and they're also putting guided bombs under the balloons, and they float this balloon off, and it gets up to 40,000 feet, carries this tracker 20 miles, 30 miles, 50 miles into, the disputed areas and into Russia. And then they release the drone. Now the drone's already 50 or 75 miles away, and the battery hadn't been, they haven't even flown it yet. They release it, and at 40,000 feet, my understanding is they can glide another 27 miles with it, and they can turn that thing on, and they can control it, 50, 60, 70, 80 miles away, and they're doing that with balloons. And
can the drone can the drone lift itself at that altitude? The air's so thin up there.
Well, yeah, they're using like weather balloons. They're using a larger balloon that will go higher and it will lift more weight. They couldn't do it with our little small balloons, but so they're using a little bit larger balloon. So anyway, that's what they're doing now. Unfortunately, or fortunately, Russia can't do it because they'd have to take it all the way around the world, across China, the Pacific, the United States, and back into Europe before they got to their target. So the balloon's out for them. The thing is, they don't know which ones are carrying, basically. Oh, and because the drone is not turned on, there's really no heat signature on the drones up there, which is another nice benefit to it. So as they detect these, they don't know what's going on. Do they have to shoot down, a cheap drone and a $50 balloon with a $100,000 missile? And you can just flood the skies with balloons. Hey, let's launch 500 balloons today. Maybe don't even put a drone on them. I don't know, man. So that's an interesting turn. Now, here's where I'm going with this. We're going to be flying over Ukraine, Middle East. We'll be flying over Iran, Saudi, Kuwait, all these places. And they, our tracking depends on GPS. They do a lot of GPS jamming and spoofing in that region. So 1 minute you may see our balloon over I don't know, say Kiev, but it may show up on a map in Mexico City, just because they've screwed around with it. But after a little while, that don't mean it's going to Mexico City, okay? But it's still going on its normal path, and then after it gets out of the jamming area, then you'll start seeing it. So you may see a funny map. You may see, it's over Ukraine. Now it's over Mexico, and now it's gone back over here. So we may have that trouble. I don't know. Now, one last comment on this, and then we're going to bring Hambot in. I have probably put 50 or 60 hours into building this tracker. I have built and torn down and built, trying to get the charging rate correct. And again, we don't even know if the battery's going to work. Typically, the battery will not work at all. So if that's the case, we're going to be solar only. But down here on the ground, it's working fine. It's charging during the day, and it's adding about 6.5 more hours to the tracking every day. Even at nighttime. So here's my point. I'm almost out of breath thinking about how much work I've put into it. 50 or 60 hours of building and testing, and the problem we had is we haven't had sun in 2 weeks. I'll get 15 minutes of sun, I'll take it out there, and then it'll go cloudy for an hour, and then the sun will come back out, and oh man, what a mess. Here's my fright. Our last good balloon went 454 days. But we've had a number of flights that didn't even last one day. So here's my fright. All this work I put into it, when we launch this thing Saturday, will we even see it Sunday? Well, I don't know. Okay. All right. Well, anyway, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. We're going to get ready for Hambot here to give a prize out in just a second there. Go to w5kub.com, get in that chat room. Let me check the chat room here real quick. Let's see what's going on. We welcome John, N4MIM. John, are you new here? I don't recognize the call. So, hey, if you're in the chat room tonight, or you're new to the show here, let us know in the chat room, if you will, that this is your first time. I'd like to see if how many new people may be tuned in tonight. Okay, so if you want to win the prize tonight, here's our prizes that we're giving out tonight. It's going to be donated from Gigaparts. So whoever is the lucky winner tonight, you're going to get your choice: dual band handy talkie, G5RV junior dipole, or Explorer backpack. All right. You got to be in the W5KUB chat room. It takes about 10 seconds to get in here. Hambot is going to pick a name here in the next 1 to 2 minutes. So we're going to get ready here. And see what we can do. All right. Are we ready to go here? Let's see. Let's see if we get ready to go. All right. All right. So all you got to do, if your name is called by Hambot, all you have to do is in a chat room say, I'm here, or hit a period and hit the enter key. Just type anything and hit the enter key. Hambot will recognize you, and we will know you're there. Now, If we don't get anyone, Hambot's going to give you 60 seconds to claim your prize. And if you don't claim it, you can't argue with Hambot. If Hambot says, sorry, time's up, guys. You used to could argue with me, but once we got Hambot on staff, you can't argue with Hambot. Now, okay. So if Hambot doesn't get a winner, he's going to pick another name. So right now, here we go. We're going to get ready to go. Hambot's the official timekeeper of the chat room, and not the audio here on the chat room, because Hambot, John, test prize. Wait a minute. Did I just give a test prize to somebody? Oh man. John, congratulations, John, KC7DRI. You just won nothing. You just won a test prize. Hambot picked your name and you won nothing. Wow, congratulations. All right, let's see if I can figure this thing out again. Hang on, everybody. Hang on. Okay, hang on. Hang in there. All right, hang in there, everybody. Hambot's looking. Oh, we got a winner. KD5PUR. He says he's here. So Hambot. We got a winner. Look at that. Look at that, man. Can you believe that? Man. Look at there. Gee whiz. All right, KD5PUR, you are the winner. And today is 6/24. All right, you're going to get your choice. Of what I say a while ago. One of these three items. You'll just let Gigaparts know. They'll be contacting you, and they will tell you that they'll send you a code, and whatever you want, you can get it there. Hey guys, also, if you buy from Gigaparts there, if you use the promo code W5KUB, you get two times the points on your purchase. So use W5KUB promo code, you'll get some extra points there. Okay, well, all right. There are the ants. They're getting excited. They're getting excited about their trip. They're ready to go. They're ready. It's just been taking a while to get them ready. Okay. All right. Are we having fun yet? Let me check the chat room, see what's going on. I'm so glad that John won. John's in here nearly every night. John, I just wanted to congratulate you again on winning nothing. You won the test prize. Nothing will be awarded, okay? Gee whiz. I don't know if I feel bad about that or not. Well, that's the way the cookie crumbles. That's not that. You know any sayings, Brett? You know any sayings? That's the way the cookie crumbles.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Mine crumble way too often too.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Welcome to KC1YFS. Okay. All right. Wow. Okay. Did I show you guys the WD-40? Did I show that on the show, or was that pre-show? I think I may have showed it. I think I did.
Yes, I think you showed it just after the show started.
Did I? Okay. Hambot received this in the mail, guys, for any of you guys tuning in new. Hambot, looks like it's empty. Look here, nothing, nothing in there. That's interesting. Hambot received this from Chris, one of our great friends down in Florida. AA4CB sent this to Hambot right here. He said, "You sounded a little squeaky on last week's show. Thanks for everything," from Chris, AA4CB. So that's cool, man. That's cool. Okay, hey, all right. I want to talk a little tonight about AI for ham radio. Man, I have really used it, and it's amazing. I've learned to love it, man, the last couple of weeks.
What have you used it for?
Well, now let me tell you, AI is not always right. He can give you the wrong answer. You got to kind of challenge him sometimes. I had him design me a low pass filter for the 70 milliwatt PA that we built here, and he had the input and the output grounded, and I thought that's not going to work very good. I mean, he had all the right parts in there, but they were grounded. And I said, I think you made a mistake here. And he comes back and says, yeah, you are correct. I did make a mistake. And he corrected it. Once I told him he made a mistake, I didn't, anyway. So I've got a high-end spectrum analyzer here that I haven't used in years. And I think well, I don't know yet. I don't know what's gone bad yet. But I do have, a new spectrum analyzer, which is a Rego, but this is a commercial IFR spectrum scope. Anyway, it didn't want to turn on right, and I didn't see anything on the screen. It was black. So I asked AI, man, I've got this IFR 2975 or whatever it is, and my screen's black and the power button's acting funny. Can you help me? And it says, sure. He says, according to the maintenance manuals and the troubleshooting processes, he named me 3 things that could be wrong. A cable that needed to be reset, maybe an LED backlight device, or capacitors in a power supply. And he said, do you see anything on the screen? And at first I said no, but then I looked closer and I could see on the screen across the top. He said, if you turn your light out, can you see anything on the screen? So I turned the light out, and there it was, man. It was on the screen. It was very light, across the top and the bottom of the screen, the little things you can click on, So then I turned the light back on and I looked real close, and I could see that on the screen, but I didn't see it on the screen until he said, if you turn the light off, can you see it? And I said, yeah. So I told him, and he says, oh, okay. That narrows it down to these 2 things right here that will be a cause. And it gave me percentages. This is the highest percentage thing here. This is what usually goes bad, this part here or this part here. Now, I haven't opened it up yet, but I think I'm going to do that soon. I'm going to open it up and go through what he told me to look for. And the thing is, he remembers everything. Now I'm going to jump to the tracker. I used him a lot when I was putting the Pico balloon system 123 together, and he remembers everything I talk about. I say, I'm using 10 solar cells, and I'm using, a 320 milliamp battery, and I'm using this and I'm using that. And he says, here's what you should expect for the battery voltage. This is too much for that LiPo battery. You need to try to reduce that. So maybe I had too few cells, and he said I would add extra cells. So I add extra cells. Of course, that brings the voltage up. And then he said, what is your voltage reading now? And I said, okay, the voltage reading now is, 4.0 volts. And he said, okay, well, he said, to fully charge it, you need more. He said, I would recommend, I had 8 cells. He said, I'd recommend 9 or 10 cells. So I added 2 more cells, bring that voltage up. And it brought it up, just like he said. And, I thought I was going to charge the battery really well. So, but he remembers everything. He said, I may have not talked to him for maybe 3 or 4 days. And he came back to me and said, yeah, with the 10 cells you're using and that type cell, and with this or that you've done, you should expect these results. So that's kind of cool. So he remembers everything. I worked a lot with him to design the power amplifier for the tracker, the 70 milliwatt amplifier. And he told me, at 14 megahertz, you need somewhere between 5 and 15 microhenry as an RF choke in the power lead. All right, so I said, okay, all right. I said, how do I make a 7 microhenry inductor? I said, I want to build one, but I want to use number 36 wire, and I want to put it on a 1/4 inch air core. Tell me how to do it. And he came back and said, okay, that's going to be perfect. He said, on your 1/4 inch form, he said, wind 15 turns of number 36 wire. And he says, you might need to take off 1 turn or add 1 turn to get your 7, that you were looking for. So I take my little straw, and I take a needle and I poke a hole in the end of the straw, and I stick the wire through it. And I rotate the straw, and I wind me, I think, 15 turns of number 36, and I clip the wire off. And I put it on my inductance meter here, and it was right on. It was right on. I didn't even have to take a turn off or put a turn on. And it's amazing. So I was going to bring up AI tonight. Man, we're about out of time here. I was going to bring up AI tonight and just show you some of the things that it did. And I was going to take, Brett, I was going to take your inductor and capacitor and just talk to AI a little bit. Let me see if I can bring AI. Let's just use ChatGPT, and let's see what it says about crystal radios tonight. Let me bring it up here.
Okay.
Let's see.
I can give you the specs of the coil.
Well, let's see what he says first.
Okay.
And let's see. I think I can get it right here. Let's see.
Let's see right here.
Yeah, and then we'll put the numbers in it too. Let's see. Well, let's look at ChatGPT. I like it. I'm also a member of Google. I mean, not of Google, of X, and can use Grok. Let's see, email address. Let's see. Let's continue. Let's continue with Google. Maybe it'll let me here.
Yes, Grok has been rated one of the most hallucinogenic AIs. So
is it one of the worst ones? You say it's rated lowest?
Yeah, the Washington Post rated it as hallucinating the most often.
I didn't like it when I was doing some pictures and telling it to. ChatGPT came out much prettier and much more professional than I asked Grok to do. But Grok is still handy. Okay, so let's just say I'm building a crystal radio. How do I build, what do you call it, tank circuit or the LC circuit? Or let's see, how do I build the LC circuit? Let's see what he says. Okay. Well, all right. He says for simple crystal radio, the tuned circuit, basically two parts, the L and C. He's got them parallel across each other, the antenna on one side.
Well, it's not showing the way we do it. You know, the normal way to do a crystal radio is to do a bandpass filter with the coil and the capacitor across the antenna and ground.
Yeah, let's see what he says here. Let's see. There's several variations of the crystal radio. One of them, and I thought you might be doing this, but you're using a capacitor tune. One of them is a variable inductor, you know, where you got the little metal slider that goes across the coil. You've seen that, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so there's several ways to do this. But let's see what it says. The antenna usually connects to a tap on the coil or through a small coupling capacitor. Right, he's probably getting too overly tech here. Let's see. The AM broadcast band, variable capacitor, 20 to 365. What do you use, a 365?
I used one in the mid 200s, about 270 picofarad.
Okay.
That gets in there.
Yeah. And a coil about 250 to 300 microhenry. You know what your microhenry was, or just? I tell you what. What's your coil form size and number of turns?
I did 75 turns on the toilet paper roll.
Okay. If I
have to measure the toilet paper roll to tell you the exact diameter.
Yeah. How you spell toilet? T-O-L-I-E-T?
T-O-I-L-E-T?
I can't even spell it. T-O-I-L-E-T. Toilet paper roll. If I use a toilet paper roll for the form, how many turns of wire do I need? And he knows I'm going for a crystal radio, so I don't guess I need to tell him what inductance. Let's just see what he says there.
Yeah, let's see.
Let's see what he says. Okay, he says toilet paper roll is about 1.6 inches, which actually works pretty well for crystal radio coil. All right, if you use 365 a variable cap, you want to cover the broadcast band, is a good starting point. 90 turns. How many turns did you say?
I only used 75.
Okay. All right. Let's just say this. What if only 75 turns? Will it still work? Yes, 75 turns will probably still work, especially if you're using toilet paper roll. Look at that. With 75 turns, the inductance will be lower than a 90 turn. You'll tune higher frequencies more easily. Okay. All right. So, why 75 turns? Now here he's talking about taps. Okay, well, why is he doing taps? Then try the antenna on different taps for best signal strength. Okay. So he's giving you some things here, some hints to improve probably what you already built.
Oh yeah. Well, the reason why they do taps is that if it works as sort of a center tap transformer, and you feed the antenna into a tap, you're boosting the voltage. It's like an auto transformer. And boosting the voltage at the expense of current sometimes is what you need. Sometimes it isn't.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So, hey, he's kind of fitting in he's kind of there, right? He's giving good advice.
Yep. It's obviously been trained on some sites which talked about crystal radios that I've actually seen.
Okay. So, let's see. A few questions. What variable capacitor? Oh, wait, he wants to know what variable capacitor. You said is what, a 270?
Yeah, I can look up exactly.
That's okay. I'm going to say the capacitor is a 270 picofarad. Let's see what it says there. It should still work for your tuning range. It'll be shifted upward, he says. The code will likely be 150 to 200. Okay. The lowest frequency you can tune would be about 700. So I don't know.
Yeah. Now, it's actually a dual gang capacitor, and I can hook up the other gang in parallel.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. That would bring it down. Sure. You'll probably receive stations from about 800 to 1700. You may miss some stations. I mean,
Yeah. Well, if you double 270 puffs, you get 540 puffs, which is right in the neighborhood of what it originally mentioned.
okay, let's ask it that. What will be the results if I use how much? 500?
540 picofarads.
540 picofarads. Let's see what he says there.
Yep, so I don't reach the top of the AM band according to its calculations.
Yeah.
But I get up to 1200.
What was that?
You get up to 1200 according to its calculations.
Yeah.
Now, the loudest AM station in my area happens to be KOWB at 1290. So I'm better off with the smaller capacitance.
Yeah. Okay, one thing to note. You may not be able to tune all the way up to 1700 with the 540. I mean, this is good advice. I mean, this is like, I don't know. This is talking to a radio engineer. Look at there. Good advice. You can change parts around. He tells you what that's going to do. Look at that. What kind of capacitor is it? Is it a dual gang or an old AM radio? Let's see. Small plastic polyvericon. Is it like a dual gang capacitor with stators and rotor?
I'll show you what it is. Let me share.
Okay. Oh. What he's doing is he's saying that if it's a dual gang, he can show you how to. Oh, okay, that's those little ones like come out of a little transistor radio, aren't they? I mean, that's not a big. That's not a big metal one with the rotor stators and stuff, you know. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, anyway, okay, so we're about out of time. Just wanted to talk a little about AI and how it can. I got one more thing for AI. One more thing. Let's do this. I'm going to send him a picture and ask him what this is. Let me get it here. Let's see if I can do this. Okay. Okay.
And by the way, I do have genuine 1N34 diodes.
Yeah. Okay, what is this? And I'm going to attach a picture here and see if it knows what this is. Let's see. There we go. I'm going to ask him if he knows what that is. Did you see it?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Let's see if he knows what that is. What is he going to say? All right. He's analyzing it. He can describe what he's seeing. He might not be able to tell us, the exact model. There may be only one of those in the world. I don't know. Let's see. A handheld electric branding iron or plastic welding, foam cutting tool, rather than a firearm. The front has two metal rods supporting bent wire. Looks like a heavy. The pistol grip and trigger style handle are typical of older electric heating tools. The bent wire at the front resembles the what?
Oh, yeah. Well, they've recognized it. It's a soldering iron with a laser sight.
Is that? Did he say that somewhere?
Not quite, but
I see. The bent wire at the front resembles a hot wire. He may get to it in a minute. The object mounted on looks like a flashlight. Looks like a flashlight. He got that wrong. Yeah, let's see, something like 955. Could you take a close-up photo? Yeah, I can't do it. That's interesting. I think we stumped him. He doesn't know exactly what it is, and I'm real disappointed he missed the scope part right there. All right. Oh. All right, guys. Hey, thanks everybody for joining us tonight. We appreciate it. We had a good time tonight, and remember, we've gone to bi-weekly. I guess it's bi-weekly. I don't know what it is anymore. I have to watch the calendar. We're on every second and fourth Wednesday of every month. Just remember, Amateur Radio Roundtable, the second and the fourth, w5kub.com. We'll say good night to everybody in 73, and we'll see you next week.
It's the best ham radio show online. Amateur Radio Roundtable every time. Tom W5KUB keeps the stream alive. With hams worldwide, we're feeling the vibe. With Glenn KW5GP breaking it down. Building gear and wearing that crown. And Brett WI7BG shouting clear. Coming in strong from here, DD. Oh, and Mark P. Yeah, he's part of the light. So tune in every Tuesday night. It's more than mics and modulation. It's heart and soul in every station. From kits and code to satellites. We learn, we laugh, we share the nights. So grab your rig, grab your crew, it's always something cool